So definitely an exciting time for the brand. This is something that we've been waiting for a long time. And, we chose strategically to make sure that we waited for the right time when we were ready to launch not only an app, but rewards mixed with online ordering. We didn't want to just launch an app for discounting sake. So we actually implemented first party delivery along with our rewards program. We're essentially for the guests that use our app, they'll receive, 10 points per dollar spent. Once they reach that 250 point mark, they can start to redeem things like our classic cinnamon roll and or our mini bonds, etc., and to start building up more and more loyalty as time goes on. But the other benefits with that, again, is we now have, access for our guests to experience us first party and really at their demand, whether that's pickup and or delivery.
That's really interesting to me because I feel like nowadays you kind of assume that everyone's just mostly focusing on third-party delivery. So what went into the decision to have first-party delivery, and has that been challenging?
Time will tell. We learned very quickly through the pandemic that, we had to heavily rely on third-party delivery just to get through the challenges. And we knew that our guests still wanted to experience our brand, but they were either not able to and or, taking safety precautions to stay home to where they could not experience the brand. So 3PD really picked up for us during the pandemic, and we realized that although the brand has performed very well for many years and it has this iconic nature about it, we still need to increase that accessibility for the guest. And so we learned quickly that something like our pack sales, for example, started to dramatically grow throughout the pandemic. And so it showed that more and more guests still wanted our product. So they were going to go ahead and order in bulk and share with their friends and family during the pandemic. And that has continuously grown since then. Even though we're still in the pandemic, we're still seeing the growth when it comes to that. But with first party delivery, I think it's pretty well known that typically provides more profitability for the franchisees. And so we know that that's a route we would love to pursue and to really build upon. But at the same time, that starts to become a value offering for our current guests who are very loyal to the brand, who are going to take advantage of our app and our rewards program. Third-party delivery, I think, will still be a huge focus because we have to talk to those who still aren't as familiar with the brand or those who are not visiting us as frequent as we like. So we look at it in two different buckets, right? So third-party delivery is going to be there for us to draw more people into the brand, hopefully more people into our rewards program, but still be there for those who want to experience us through that channel. When it comes to first party, now we're talking to our loyal members. We're talking to them more often. We're giving them customized, offers to entice them to visit us more often, and it's just keeping us top of mind. But at the same time, with Cinnabon being a predominantly mall-based business, we now have a chance to really offer something special to those mall employees who work around us every single day. So how can we be more a part of their occasion and remind them and offer them things that help drive, more brand awareness and product awareness for other things that our brand can serve.
Mm-hmm. And what is the kind of benefits or challenges of quality wise of cutting out that middleman and just going first party delivery?
Sure. Well, essentially it still works the same to some degree. We still have to go through, a third party, so to speak, on the delivery side of that. But when it comes to the pickup or delivery, we still have the full control of that quality. And luckily for our product, it travels very well. There's not too much constraints or concerns when it comes to the travel time for the average delivery order. So that is a benefit of our brand in general, that we have a product that is very, stable when it comes to, transport.
Mm-hmm. And when did the app launch? And approximately, I don't know if you have this information on hand, or how many signups have you had?
Sure. So we actually launched on September 20th. So not too long ago. Currently sitting at about 18,000 users. As we slowly start to transition into this and start to talk about it. It is very new for our brand. So again, we're going to spend most of the rest of this year just putting the emphasis on how do we draw more people into that funnel, educate them on the offers they have and the exclusive benefits they can receive as they get more involved, with hopes to, of course, build this out and make it a huge part of our business model going forward.
Mm-hmm. And why do you think now is a good time to launch an app?
I kind of mentioned it, but I think the pandemic truly did play a big role in this. It opened up our eyes to how we have to, involve ourselves with the guest. And when you look at our brand, one of the number one opportunities we have is accessibility. just because of the natural footprint of the brand. And although it has a very high awareness rating and people, for the most part, know who Cinnabon is, that frequency and that overall accessibility based upon being predominantly in malls, and even just the non-traditional venues, we have to figure out a way to make sure our guests can access us. So the first focus point there is digital. So like I said, as we saw the 3PD sales rising through the pandemic, that opened up our eyes and it sped up the conversation to say, hey, it's time. It's time to not just launch an app, which most brands have done, but something that is more strategic, that's focusing on the overall accessibility of our brand, that can feed into more and more loyal guests over time. But at the same time, again, start providing a first party route for our franchisees and our guests, to start, again, getting the products to the guests more, a lot more faster than it would have been otherwise in pre. So all in all, it's more of a timing thing, and from key learnings to the pandemic, that this is the best route for us. And we're going to keep building upon that and making our brand more accessible through digital channels, but also through overall footprint, which is another strategy of ours, is how we bring, the Cinnabon more street side, with other brands and or, with sister brands and our brand specifically. But how do we take our brand more street side and other venues that help building on this overall, mindset of increasing accessibility?
Mm-hmm. And can you kind of go into more detail on that? Like you said, I mean, Cinnabon is kind of primarily initially known as being in malls, but you guys, and also just part of the focus brand strategy in general, kind of focusing outside of that kind of mall and transportation hub footprint. Like, how are you looking at that as a primary strategy?
Sure. So one piece is some of the more non-traditional routes. So we have a growing food truck business right now that is performing very well for us. And in some cases, that food truck business is leading to more locations, because the food trucks are seeing their potential and realizing they could maybe even produce a typical street side location, or maybe another non-traditional venue, and to help grow their actual food truck side of the business and keep things more mobile and keep up with the 3PD sales that are rising and soon to be first party. But we're also looking at things like ghost kitchens. We have about 25 plus ghost kitchens in Canada that are performing right now, and getting to know that model a lot more and seeing how that can be relevant in the States and where we can grow that business as well. But there's so many opportunities out there in the non-traditional front that we are focusing on. But from a traditional standpoint, one of the focus points is how do we bring Cinnabon street side? And that is going to be specific to venue, location, and it's going to be a lot of work ahead to make sure we pinpoint the right area to do this. And most likely we are going to have to do that with a co-branded partner. Most likely internally with one of our sister brands, whether that's Carvel, Auntie Anne's, but, maybe even Jamba at some point. But we got to figure out, what our guests truly think about these mashups and these co-brands to ensure that it makes sense to the guests first and foremost. And then it's about finding the right location to where that co-branded concept makes sense, to ensure that the franchisee's investment is protected and that it makes sense to invest in a new prototype of our brand, somewhere where there's a decent amount of foot traffic and visibility to ensure that success. But we know in general, when we co-brand together, we're stronger together. We offset that risk of investment because there's more revenue being generated in theory. So it's a huge focus point for us is to take Cinnabon street side. And how we're going to do that, time will tell in the future. But that's definitely the goal right now. And just knowing that we have strong malls. There's plenty more malls we can get into, and we'll continuously grow in the top A and B malls around the country. And again, we'll keep growing non-traditional venues, food trucks, ghost kitchens, whatever else we can get our hands on, airports, etc. We'll find the right opportunities to grow. But I do think there's something special, and for our future's sake, it really opens the door to experience the brand in a way that typically has not been done before.
I think that makes so much sense to kind of try and move street side a little bit, because I just think that there's so much white space in general. Because I know, for example, for me personally in my neighborhood, we weirdly enough do not have much in the way of dessert places at all. We have a Baskin Robbins, but other than that, no ice cream places. So it's just kind of like whenever you're like, oh, I could use something sweet, there's not many options. And I'm sure we're not the only neighborhood out there where that's the case. So I feel like that could definitely make sense for suburban or urban areas.
Absolutely. And if you look at some of our concepts, when put together, you really start to create the probably the top treat destination place you could think of, it done right. And so we're doing a lot of the concepting right now to figure out what makes sense. But again, we're making sure that from the guest screenings and the overall, insights we can gather, that what we actually do that makes sense to us is going to resonate with the guests well, before we take any drastic steps forward.
Mm-hmm. So moving on back to the app for a moment, what are some examples of customized offers that customers might receive that you'd mentioned before?
So a lot of it's going to come down to, for those that are within our program, our rewards program, we're going to learn more about their behaviors. We're going to learn more about what they typically purchase. We're going to learn about how often they visit. And so we want to utilize that data to help build upon that and remind them of what they love the most about our brand. And so over time, we can start to customize a promotion based upon that data. But also we might, from time to time, unlock a certain promotion or offering just to our rewards members that will not be seen, by the general public, but it will be seen by those who are utilizing our program. So that's one way. Another way is looking at the mall employees surrounding our mall-based business. How can we offer them something that maybe makes more sense for them in their day-to-day? So is there more promotion we can do around beverage, considering we have a delicious, beverage offering, with coffee and lemonade and others? How can we offer some of those products at maybe a discount? Just to remind them on their quick breaks they have in that high volume environment, can they run over real quick and experience maybe a portable snack to go with some of our smaller but still crave-worthy items or beverages and etc. So we got to really think that through of what makes the most sense in the right time. But that's just a couple examples of how we would approach that, knowing that we now have that insight that we don't currently have today with our guests.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of your sister brands, will there be any in-app collaboration with other focus brands?
Potentially in the future. This is something that we are thinking about and trying to work through to see what makes the most sense when you look at the overall portfolio. And considering we're just launching, this month for Cinnabon, we still have a lot to learn. But that is an initiative in the background that is being focused on just to see what makes sense. What are the true capabilities and benefits of approaching it and with a, we would refer to as a one focused way mentality of how we can, reach our guests, but also, benefit our guests in a very collective and similar manner. But again, we have to keep doing this research and make sure that we pinpoint this right way and work through capabilities. But of course, the more data we can gather throughout this year going into next with Cinnabon, and of course, the other sister brands that we have, they have their rewards apps. We have that data. We'll mesh all this together and figure out what makes the most sense going forward.
I think I might have mentioned this to Joe Geith, but I very much want to see a Cinnabon Carvel soft serve. Like, I need that to happen.
Okay. I know a guy, and I think we can have that conversation and might be able to make that happen.
And just in closing out, are there any goals that you have either for the app or for development in general that you want to add for Cinnabon in the future?
The main goal right now for this app is to really, like I mentioned, is draw more people to it. We have to build this funnel because, like most brands now, you have to leverage your digital capabilities to really do anything else in the future that comes about technology-wise, right? We have to keep, driving people into our database to have the right conversations and to be able to reach them, when we need to, and vice versa. It's a two-way, conversation. So my main goal right now is driving overall membership, but also active users of this platform. End of the day, people can sign up, they can download it, they can do what they want to do. But if they're not actually active within our platform, then that does not add the value that it needs to for both parties, right? Whether it's the guest or that's the brand. And so we're going to be driving that active user membership first and foremost. And then, our goals will start to evolve next year for this program, but that's a main one. And then on the development side, it really is coming down to how do we keep becoming more accessible and how can we, build the right, integrated concept with Cinnabon and another one of our sister companies, whether that's Carvel or somebody else, and really grow that in a way that is meaningful and stands out, but brings us street side, leveraging our other, brands, operational insights, but also what they've learned, how they've gathered their data and how they have been able to perform in similar locations. And then in general, what other, concepts make sense for us, whether that's tri-branding or just having 4 of our concepts all side by side. Same operator, but maybe there's some separation in between the two where we're just taking over certain centers and driving more of that relevance for all of our brands combined. So a lot of exciting things in the pipeline, but that's just a few areas where we're focusing right now.